Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to worship at Wake Forest Baptist Church. This is another Sunday in our preaching series, The Binaries That Bind. Today we're talking about authority. So be strong and courageous and do not be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. One of our divinity student graduates hung around for a while after they graduated. They were applying for jobs, and they sent one of the church descriptions to me. The church worried them because the church was really close to a seminary and had several professors who were church members. They asked this question: how will they ever accept my pastoral authority? Now, it's a good thing I didn't have anything to drink in my mouth when they asked that question, because I would have spewed it everywhere. In our text today, the chief priests and the elders asked Jesus a question. By what authority are you doing these things? And who gave you this authority? That word, authority, it's a troublesome word today, isn't it? The Greek here is exousia, and is translated in the Bible to mean power of choice, liberty, or the liberty of doing what one pleases, leave or permission. It's a physical and mental power that we've been endowed with, and the power or rule of government. Jesus answers the question of the chief priests in that way that only Jesus can do, confusingly. He sets out a trap for the chief priests and elders, asking where John the Baptist's authority came from. If they answer that John's authority comes from God, then they have to admit that Jesus' power comes from God. If they answer that John's authority comes from the community or from humanity, then they're admitting that Jesus' power comes from those he serves. I think it's like Jesus has been offered a binary. Do you receive your power from God or from the people? And Jesus refuses that binary because, as we learned last week, anytime you choose in a binary, you choose wrongly. Jesus' answer to which of the binary was right was yes. So that brings us again to the question of authority, especially pastoral authority. In my experience, many Div students seem to think that pastoral authority comes from going to divinity school. Others seem to think that it comes because they were called and God ordained. There is value in both of these things. But the truth is that pastors don't automatically have any authority. That shocks students when I tell them that. Perhaps because they are church nerds and hold pastors in such esteem, but seriously, the pastoral role has no authority at all, especially today. Any authority a pastor has is built through relationship, for showing up when they're needed, for doing the garbage work that no one else wants to do, for being who they are authentically day in and day out, and even more than that, for living out loud the spirituality that so many of us keep in our secret hearts. And that same authority is imbued in all people of faith, because we are all priests in the priesthood of believers. But do we hand over authority to just any people? Don't they have to show us that they're worthy of trust, worthy of authority? I bet you can name some leaders right now who have not worked to build trust and have not earned authority. Those leaders and the people who follow them might be called authoritarians. In fact, theologian Brian McLaren wrote recently about authoritarianism. He started out the article by reminding his readers that the United States usually has 4 political leanings: traditionalists and conservatives, who usually vote Republican, and liberals and progressives, who usually vote Democratic. For all their differences, traditionalists, conservatives, liberals, and progressives all value the rules and norms of democracy. In 2016, according to Brian McLaren, a new values cluster emerged: authoritarians. McLaren defines authoritarians as people who find security and delight in submitting to a powerful leader who promises to protect them from all enemies. He goes on to say, authoritarians value only one thing: winning. And to achieve that singular value, they portray toughness, even cruelty and violence, with no admission of weakness or failure. They display an unapologetic willingness to break any and every rule to win. They demand absolute loyalty to the leader, offering constant praise and adulation. They sacrifice truthfulness and critical thinking because the leader alone defines reality. They reward those who submit to him as good people and punish all who do not as bad people, and they suppress all dissent. Authoritarians do not value the rules and norms of democracy, and they use several tactics to centralize power: fear of an enemy to unify followers, radical division based on loyalty to the regime and hostility to the enemy, gross distortion of the truth, so what the leader says is counted as truth, and finally, suppression of dissent. You can see the power in authoritarianism, can't you? It is power distorted by fear, division, and the truth. But where does the authority come from? Is it God or humanity? Let me tell you, the authority comes from fear. It comes from belief in scarcity. It comes from building a common enemy. It comes not from a leader who has built trust, but from one who has built discord. Now remember, we're in that sermon series called The Binaries That Bind, and the point of this sermon series is don't buy into either or thinking, black and white thinking. Deeply consider the intricacies of each binary and choose to let the binary go. Don't believe the fear. When fear speaks, it always lies. Don't believe in scarcity. There is always enough if we just share. Don't believe in easy answers. Real, good answers are always complex. And give authority only over to those who have proven that they are trustworthy. Those who have shown up when they are needed. Those who have done the garbage work that no one else wants to do. Those who are who they say they are, authentically, day in and day out. And even more than that, those who live out loud the spirituality that so many of us keep deep inside our secret hearts. We are fewer than 40 days out from the election, folks. This election, vote your values. More than ever before, the United States needs us to vote our values, not our fears. Vote for those who are proven trustworthy, who have shown up when they've been needed, who've done the garbage work that no one else wants to do, who have lived authentically and truthfully every day. But this also means that more than ever before, the United States and the whole world around us needs us to live into that same authority, to strike out from the crowd and be human in a different way, against the stream of culture, to work on our own guts and innards so that we too can show up more authentically, that we too can live out loud the spirituality that we keep in our secret hearts, that we show up to do the difficult work even when it's hard, and that we show up when we're needed. The culture we live in makes it so difficult to do this. But may I encourage you today to swim against the current. You don't have to do it alone. It's what church is supposed to be, a support network to help you work against simplistic thinking and into that glorious complexity of being human. It's what God has been calling you to your whole life. Will you pray with me? Loving and holy God, who gives us power and strength so that we can show love, I ask a special blessing today on each hearer of your word, that they might be empowered to shun simplistic thinking, black and white either or thinking, that they may know that when they are forced into a binary, they always choose wrong. Give them the strength to resist authoritarianism. Give all of us the strength to resist authoritarianism. Give us power to show the beauty of complexity. Help us choose not the easy path, but the right path, the path of love and difficulty and authenticity and struggle and resistance, and most of all, of peace. Not absence of conflict, God, but a presence of peace. You've given us, O God, all that we need. Help us to see it, to feel it, to taste it, to smell it, to know it, so that we can follow your way, your will in all that we do. Amen. Amen. Amen.